Hi everybody, welcome to my channel Frugalissima. My name's Sam. This is where I talk about all things sewing. And today I've got a sew along for you. This is for the Penelope pants or trousers if you're from the UK. This is a free sewing pattern which is available from the Mood website, which I'll link below for you. It is just available as a print at home file. There's no A0 for this one. However, you can get your print at home files printed at printers now. I used a company called Fabuloso. They just charge £1.50 per A0 sheet, and I think it's £1.75 postage. I will link their details below for you. If you're not from the UK, if you want to put something in the comments where you get yours printed, and I'll put together a list for people who are international viewers. So yeah, this is a fantastic pattern. It's a free pattern. It comes along with the Valerie vest, which I've also made, which I'll show you with wearing them together. Lovely, comfortable, sort of stylish, timeless pants, which are high-waisted. They've got a deep waistband. They've got two pleats at the front, dart at the back, along with a concealed zipper at the back, and just quite wide-legged, classic shape, really. Love these trousers so much that I've made them 3 times, so I'll show you the versions that I've made for you. You will need around about 1.5 to 2 meters, 2.5 meters, depending on your size. They go from size 25-inch waist up to a 51.5-inch waist and a 34 to a 63.5-inch hip, so it depends on your size. You just need to check the sizing chart for that. It's a woven fabric, so I have used a cotton linen blend. I've used a wool worsted. The electric blue ones are in a wool worsted, and I've used a wool and silk blend. So my really dark coloured ones have got little flecks of cobalt blue silk in them. Really fast sew. I reckon you can make them up in an hour once you've made a toile. And I think if you've never made a pair of pants before, this is a good introduction to you. So my sew along will give you a few modifications to what's on the Mood website. These give you a lovely, neat interior on the waistband, and I'll take you through step by step on how to install that concealed zipper if you've never done one of those before. So along with your fabric, you will need some thread, obviously. You will need a concealed zip. It says on the website that you need 24-inch. You do not need a 24-inch zip. I reckon around about a 9-inch zip will be fine. I've actually used a shorter one, but I've only got a small sort of bum. So, but 10-inch, I think they probably meant 25 centimetres on their website. So I've got lots of advice in this video for how to get a nice, neat finish. The reason I've done a sew along is there are a few things that aren't very clear on the Mood website, so hopefully I'll clarify those for you. I think you'll love to sew along with this and make these time and time again and come back and reference. I will put chapters in for you so that if it's just the invisible zip that you're looking for, then you can come back to that. So let's get sewing. If you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment below. Before you start sewing, you want to determine your size. So download your pattern, determine your size according to the size chart. I came in at a size 12 at the waist and a size 8 at the hip. So I had to grade between sizes. I would strongly suggest that you make a 12 first, just check your fit. You can make any adjustments, like I added an extra inch to the length of mine as well. You need an invisible zip. An invisible zip looks like that at the front. This is a normal zip where you can see the teeth. An invisible zip, you can't see the teeth. But you need your thread. I use some interfacing. It doesn't specify on the pattern, so you want your interfacing to be similar drape to the fabric that you're going to use, and then you will need a zipper foot as well. So that's a normal zipper foot. Invisible zipper foot looks like that from the underside and like that from the top. You don't need an invisible zipper foot. You can insert it with a normal foot, but it's easier with an invisible zip foot. I've just done a bit of preparation work before we start. I've already interfaced my waistband here. I've pressed it wrong sides together in half, and then I've also pre-pressed one of my long edges, and that's this is to give you a nice finish at the end. Again, it's slightly different to the instructions on the Mood website. The other thing that I've done is I've gone ahead and overlocked all my side seams and my crotch seams. I've done that because I prefer to press my fabric open. You don't need to do that if you don't want to. I'll quickly show you how I've graded. So I'm a size 8 at the hips and I'm a size 12 at the waist. And all I've done is taken a French curve and just grade it between those sizes. You might not need to do that, but I usually do. So just 3 pattern pieces on this pattern. You've got your front and you've got your back leg, and then you've got your waistband. That results in 5 pieces of fabric because your front and your back pieces are mirrored. So you cut 2 and they reflect each other. So the other preparation work that I've done is I've just marked onto here where the pleats go in the front. So there's a little notch there and a little notch there. If, like me, you printed your pattern and cut it all off and didn't notice, there are 2 markings for each size for the pleats, and you just need to mark those on. And then if you look here, this is actually off the pattern, which is a bit that you cut off. You're making that pleat towards your side seam, not your crotch seam, not the curved seam, and I'll show you that in a second. You're going to make a pleat towards that 1 inch from that notch. I found that a little bit confusing. And then I've just marked on the darts on the wrong side on the back pieces. So on the right side of your fabric, you want to mark your 2 notches from your pattern pieces. Find them on your pattern pieces, mark your 2 notches. Then you're going to mark in 1 inch towards the side seam. So you're going to go in towards the side seam from your original notches. Put a pin there so we don't get confused. And there's another one there. So we're doing this on the right side of your fabric, not on the wrong side of your fabric. And we're going to take your original notch and fold it towards that side seam there and replace that pin. And again, same for this one, fold it towards the pin there, pin it down. Okay, you're just going to take that to the sewing machine and you're just going to baste across the top there, and you will do that on both front pieces. Now to the back pieces, I've pre-marked the dart, and we're going to sew a dart with the right sides together. So my markings are on the wrong side, so we're going to go right sides together, pin along that line, and we're going to sew. So with your right sides together, you're going to sew your dart, so pinning from the notches down to the end there. You're going to back stitch at the beginning and you're just going to sew off. You're not going to back stitch here. So then you just tie a double knot at the end of your dart, take it to your ironing board and press it towards the back seam. And if you put a piece of cardboard underneath that dart, that will stop it from showing through. Flat. Take your piece of cardboard. You're going to be pressing that seam towards the back seam. So if you put that underneath, that will stop it from making an imprint. On the other side, press it over. Ideally, you'd have a pressing cloth on here so that it doesn't make your fabric shiny. And if you've got a tailor's ham, put your tailor's ham underneath. That should just help you to get into that dart there. So with a card underneath, just to stop it from making an imprint, you just get the tip of your iron into there. Bit of steam. So now you're ready to sew your fronts together. You're going to place a pin at the top where the waistband's going to be. Another one at the bottom there, and then just pin in between. Take that to your sewing machine and sew at 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then for the back, that's the part with the darts in. You're going to, with your right sides together, you're just going to sew around that curve. You're going to stop sewing just as you get around that curve. So you're not going all the way around because that's where your zip's going to go, unless you're going to put a zip in the side. So I'm just going to put myself a red pin to remind me to stop sewing here. So it is important that your seams have been finished on these crotch areas because you do want to have those pressed open. So if you haven't got an overlocker, zigzag stitch those first. Okay, so you're ready to sew your fronts and your backs together. So simply place your front piece, the sewn together pieces, with your right sides facing up. Place the back pieces on top. So you've got right sides together. So your wrong side of your backs will be facing. You're going to do the outer seams first. So what I do is I place a pin at the top, pin at the bottom, and then a pin in between. And I'm going to do both outer seams first, sew them at 1/2 inch seam allowance and press them open. So I've got the side seams sewn together and I've got them pressed open on the inside here. Before I go ahead and sew the inseam, I'm just going to finish the bottom of the trousers, the hem edge on the overlocker, because I'm only going to be doing a single fold hem. So I'm just going to do that now. Whilst it's nice and flat, it's a lot easier to do it now. So with your right sides of your fabric together, I've got the back on the top here, and we're just going to pin these inseams. So what I do is I put a pin at the bottom of each leg, and then I pin at the crotch in the middle here, keeping those seams open so that your machine hasn't got a lot of bulk to go through. And then a pin in between, just easing it in. You'll have a little bit of curvature on the back that you haven't got on the front, so you just need to pin it in between gently. And then you're going to sew from one bottom all the way up to the crotch, pivot round, right back down, and sew back down to here at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So you know the drill. Press your seams open and you'll have something that looks a lot like a pair of trousers, and you might want to just give them a quick try on without the zip in. Just make sure you've got the sizing right if you've not already made a toile. Okay, so before we put our invisible zip in, we are going to insert our waistband. So I like to interface mine. It gives it a little bit more structure. It doesn't give you the instructions to interface it. So make sure that you choose, if you are going to interface it, choose an interfacing that's lightweight or a similar weight to your fabric. You don't want anything too thick. I have also gone ahead and pre-pressed it, wrong sides together in half along the long edge, and I've also pre-pressed it along one edge that's going to go onto the inside. This edge shouldn't be pre-pressed. I've also found the centre of my waistband, and I do this different to the instructions on the Mood website. I think my method gives you a neater finish, but you can do it the way that they do it on their website if you like. So you find the centre of your front, which you have got a seam there, and align your waistband right sides together with that centre where you found the centre there, and put that pin in. And then this is on the unpressed side, and then you go to the end where your zip's going to go at the back, and again another pin. And you'll find I do this a lot, and it just, if you've got any sort of discrepancies, what you don't want to do is start at one end and work your way to the other end and find that you've got 1/2 inch or to 1 inch overhang because you've just worked your way across. I do it this way because what you've got is a straight waistband, and by adding those pleats and those darts at the front and the back, you've actually put some curvature onto your pants. So if I hold it like that, you can see that it feels like one's ever so slightly shorter than the other, but if you pull it straight, it will go. So then I go to the centre, the side seam, and I place a pin there, and then I just keep putting pins into the centre, so whereabouts those pleats are more or less, till it all sits nice and flat. So go ahead, continue pinning, and I shall see you back at the machine. So if you take your toolbox off your machine, this gives you access to the free arm so that you can get anything that you're working on the rounding underneath. And we are sewing again at 1/2 inch seam allowance. So back stitching at the start and at the end, and sew all the way around. Just make sure that when you come to a seam like this, that it's lying flat and that your darts are going to lie in the right orientation, that is back towards the centre seam. Okay, so we've got the waistband on. I'm just going to grade this interfaced waistband by half. By grading, I mean I'm just cutting it in half. It's just removing some bulk. I'm using some applique scissors or duckbill scissors here. I'm just going to cut all the way around, reducing that by about half. And then I'm going to go to the iron to press that seam allowance up into that waistband. So I'll come back when I've done that. Okay, so that's your waistband all pressed up, nice and neat on that side. And we're just going to turn our trousers to the right side now and grab our invisible zip. I can't find an exact match of this fabric. When I was thinking about it, I was thinking this one was going to be the closest, but it's a bit light. So I'm going to go with a darker one. That in that instance then, darker shows less. So if you don't get it in quite right, you're better off going with a darker one than a lighter one. So the first thing to do is to open your invisible zip, and with a cooler iron, so this has been switched off now, you're just going to go in and just try and open those coils ever so slightly with the tip of your iron. Make sure that your iron is on low. You don't want it to be hot, else you'll melt those coils. And I'm just pushing them open. We want that invisible zip to land right on the crease here. So the first step I usually do is on the wrong side of your zip. So the right side of the zip is the bit that with the pull, is this bit here. The wrong side of the zip is this side. I like to fold the top of the zip out of the way by about 45-degree angle. And that's before we start sewing it. So I'm going to go away and do that. You can do that by hand or on your machine, whichever you find easiest. Okay, so I've gone ahead and sewn that just so that these bits are out of the way. I've done it by hand. It takes literally minutes. So with the right side of your zip, that's a bit with a pull, the right side of your trousers, you're going to put the entire zip along the seam line, and you want it, the top of that zip where it's going to stop, with the zip stop, wants to be right at the top where you folded your waistband. It wants to be aligned there, okay? Now, the seam allowance on this is 1/2 inch. So you want your zip teeth to be 1/2 inch away from the edge. So let's just measure it. So if we do that right up to there, because I've got quite a narrow zip, you can get wider ones, I need to align the edge of the tape with the edge of the overlocking, and that will give me my 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay. Throw a couple of pins in, starting at the top. So just making sure everything's in the correct place. You're just going to take it to your machine now, and I'm just going to put a normal zipper foot on. I'm not going to put my invisible zipper foot on. I'm just going to be basting it in place to start off with. If you're confident, obviously go straight in with your concealed zip foot. But I think it's better to baste it all in place first, make sure you've got everything aligned, and then back and do it with your concealed zip. So here we have a concealed zipper foot. It's got some grooves underneath. This is your normal zipper foot. It's just got a groove at either side, or a notch at either side. I'm going to attach that so that the whole of the foot is over to the right of my machine, and that I can get in close up to the zip. I'm going to lengthen my stitch length just in case we don't get it in the right place. And I'm going to start right at the top there. As also I'm actually peeling this coil over to the left out of the way. I am still going to try and get in as close as I possibly can. It's best if you can do it on the first pass, but I've got a longer stitch length on just in case we have to unpick. So as you approach the bottom of the zip, you'll find that your zipper foot interferes with the head of the zip. Don't try and sew beyond there. You're not going to be able to get it past there. You're going to have to stop before. Okay. Go in and check where our teeth are. Make sure they're 1/2 inch away. Once you've got your first side in, if you put your zip back up, you just want to mark precisely where that crosses that bottom of that waistband on both sides. Okay. And you want to mark precisely where you finish sewing at the bottom, because it's important that you line that up as well. So hopefully you can see that this is where you're going to be matching it up for the waistband, and that's where you're going to stop sewing, down at the bottom there. So unzip your zip. Everything's over on the left-hand side here, okay? And what you're wanting to do is effectively get the same result over here as you've got over here. So you're going to flip your zip once over to your right and flip it again a second time. And you're just going to make sure that where we've marked it on your zip is perfectly aligned, 1/2 inch away from your seam allowance, remember, with that. And then your top should also match up nicely if you've pressed everything correctly. And you're just going to pin from there downwards now. It just takes the guesswork out if you just put all those marks in first. And if you just twist your trousers around a bit so you can get that final pin in. And you're just going to swap over your presser foot to the other side, sewing the other side of the zip. You're going to sew all down there. Again, just do a basting stitch, just get it in place. We want to get it in situ first before we start thinking about making it invisible. So once you've got your second side of your zip in, if you just zip it up and just check for making sure that the waistband's nicely aligned, which that is, hopefully you can see. You've got going straight across there. Then you can go in with your concealed zipper foot if you don't feel that you've got it close enough. So with a concealed zipper foot then, you've got 2 grooves. You've got a groove here and a groove there. Just open up your zip. So for the right hand side of the zip, you want to be running that right hand groove down there. Still peeling that zip away and getting in as close as you can. So I'm just going to put that on there now and go in again. Although I feel you can get close enough with a normal zipper foot. I'll just demonstrate with this one so you can see how it works. So once you're confident that your alignment is right, then you can put your stitch length down. So if I just show you those 2 lines of stitching, I've got it in 2 different colours, so you can hopefully see that the concealed zipper foot has just got it maybe 1/4 inch closer. To finish off this hole between where you finished at the crotch seam and the bottom of your zip, you're going to have your pants inside out, you zip up, and you're just going to start to sew just a little bit above where you finish sewing your zip. So I've put a little white chalk mark there, hopefully you can see. So it's 1 millimetre or so above, and you're not going to be able to get right into those stitches. So you're just going to start as close as you can. If you've got a machine where you can move your needle across, like this one can, I think it's going to about 4 or 5, 4.5 or 5. That'll get me a little bit closer. But what you're aiming to do is meet that line of stitching here. Let's put some more chalk on for you, where you stopped sewing when you were doing the back crotch. So you're going to start there. It's going to be a little bit wider than your half an inch. And you're just going to bring it in with your presser foot, your zipper presser foot on, over to the left-hand side. So the main part of the foot is over to the left-hand side. And like I say, I've brought my needle across ever so slightly just so I can get in there, just my normal stitch length. And you just want it to keep the tab of that zipper right out of the way. You can put a pin in if you like, but I prefer not to because I end up stabbing myself. Needle down, next stitch. And as soon as you can, bring it back to that half an inch seam allowance. Obviously, if you want to put pins in, you can. Take that to your iron now, give it a good press, and I'll bring you back for the next bit. So bring your zip down, put your pants to the right side again. To give yourself a nice neat finish on this waistband, you're going to fold right on that fold that you've pressed, and you're going to fold it over, making sure the top of the zipper is right in that crease of that fold. So you want it to be right in there. Making sure that this pre-pressed hem is pressed up. And we're just going to encase that zip. We're going to make a little zip sandwich. So I'm going to put some more pins in, making sure that my seam allowance is up there at that side as well. We're just going to sew, keeping that zipper presser foot in. And I'm going to do the other side as well because we've got it on the other side. Save me flipping it over. And we're just going to sew close to the zipper teeth, but you don't have to sew right up to it. You just need to get close to it. So it's crucial that you get in the top of your waistband equal at both sides. Otherwise you'll have a bit of a waistband that sticks up. You will have a bit of bulk at the top. So if you sew a little bit further down first, go forward and then go backward, and it doesn't get stuck. And then you might want to snip the corner. I found that with this fabric you don't need to. You just need to just bring that back through. And you've got a nice crisp waistband here. And repeat for the other side. So you find a part of your waistband then in order to give it a nice neat finish and encase all this seam allowance inside is we're going to cover with the waistband those seams there, and then we're going to stitch in the ditch on this side. So that means we're going to get the needle into this seam allowance here between the trousers and the waistband. Just go straight in with your pins this side, pin all around, making sure that you're catching the bottom of the waistband here. Or you can pin from this side first and then swap your pins around. It's a personal preference. I'm just for speed going to do it this way, and then I'll come back when I've finished. So that's your inside of your waistband all finished. Step is to try the pants on, make sure that you've got the correct length, and then pin them to whatever length that you want. I've pinned mine to 1 inch seam allowance, and I'm just going to sew the hems. So it's just a single fold. I'm just going to sew with where the edge of the serging is there. So here we have the pants all finished. So we've got the lovely inside, so you haven't got any raw edges on the inside, and lovely invisible zip. And I'll try them on for you and show you what they look like. For the modifications then, what you can do is you can actually change that back zipper to a side zipper if you find it awkward unzipping at the back. I've actually made that waistband a little bit shallower if you find it a little bit uncomfortable. If you've got a short waist, if you find it a little bit uncomfortable, I've made a narrower waistband. So you just calculate what height waistband you want, double it, and then just add your seam allowance on each side. Really simple to do. I've taken the double pleat out and made it one single pleat. So instead of having two 1-inch pleats, I've got one 2-inch pleat. And then the other suggestions that I've got is just make it in a really wild, wacky fabric. You'll feel like you've got something completely different. Make it in a chambray. Feel like you've got a pair of smart jeans. You could put a couple of buttons on each side of your waistband, give it a kind of a sailor look. And you could actually put some braiding down the sides and it'll give it a sporty look. So I hope you enjoyed that sew along. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will speak to you next time. Bye.